Okay, let's reduce this thing. It's a 500,000 triangles. That's way too much. It has way too much detail in some areas. It's not necessary. And yeah, so I zoom way back like this. I leave the wireframe on. I turn it on and off with W, just like in Sculpt GL. The little W goes on and off right there. And let's do the reduce selected. So if I'll leave it on for a second, just so you're going to see the pop. But we're looking at the silhouette, right? So if I hit reduce selected, you see a little pop there down by the fingers and up by the head. So it's really reducing the high density parts. So it's already down 267. So it just dropped 200,000 triangles, just a couple clicks. Do a few more. 2, 3, 4, 5. It's down to 185, so it's moving a bit slower now. And if I need to, I can go down here by the feet. Let's go to the reduce brush Y, and let's really reduce the detail, like up here in the thighs, like it's way, crank that up a little. There's just no reason to have that much detail in these big open areas where I didn't sculpt it in. There we go. Might have had something masked. Okay, smaller brush, working better than giant brush. I was trying to do it in really big swaths, strokes, but I did not like that much. And down to 165,000 triangles, so moving. Let me smooth these out. And down to 162,000 triangles to the draw brush. See, it's adding that detail back in, so you got to lower the detail down that's as you stroke on there. So smooth that out. Go back to Y, to my reduce brush, and just brush that back out again. And sometimes it helps actually smooth and even out a surface as well, which is actually really handy. It's happening right here. And then I go back to my draw brush and see I lowered the detail down enough where, yeah, it still adds a bit more than I want, but it's okay. Just kind of showing you how the tool works. Shift to smooth it out. Y to reduce again. So go back here. And let's just reduce the whole thing. So 158, hit it, 2, 3. Oops. Oops, I just hit the increase on accident. Oh man, I can really undo that. Oh, hey, undo worked for once. Yay. What a relief that was. Let's smooth that out a little bit, reduce, 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 reduce. I'm watching the spikes. Usually it's the fingers, the spikes that will jump suddenly and really kind of ruin what you sculpted. Down to 100,000, 97,000. Go reduce, reduce. Still reduce these major areas that have very little detail. Back of the head's got a lot of detail. It's not necessary. Underneath, there we go, down to 88,000. Near the neck, maybe. And move back of the calves, back of the feet, inside the thigh, down to 81,000. Okay, and zoom back out again. This is pretty handy to go through this process. I think it's a good learning experience to control where you want your triangle details, how the software works. And yeah, you'll kind of get familiar with doing quick, rapid sculpt sketches with this program between this one and Sculpt GL. Remember, this is Sculptress. I think I misspoke at the beginning of the other video. I called it Sculpt GL as I'm getting the two mixed up in my brain. So there we go. So we're at 75,000 now. So let's reduce the whole thing again. 1, 2, 3, 70,000. Okay, so that's probably going to be all right. Let's save this. So I'm going to go ahead and save the xenomorph-ish Sculpt GL file. Place it, yes, and then I want to export the xenomorphish. So xenomorphish, and this one's going to be 03, step 3. Put that down in the folder. And then we'll go back over to Sculpt GL. So we'll do clear the scene. All right. And I'm going to add an OBJ. So we're going to grab the xenomorphish object number 3. And look at that. Loads right up. Now, if I want to retopo it in here to all quads, I go up here to the topology. So we'll leave the rendering. Let's see. Let's go back to Pearl, I think is the easiest one to see. Yeah. And close the rendering. So in topology, we're at the resolution, right? We're at 35,000 vertices or 50,000 faces, excuse me. 70,000, 35,000 vertices and 70,000 faces. So right here under remesh, this is where I wish this resolution made more sense. I don't really know what it's going to do, but let's turn it up a little bit more, say around, and we can always undo it, right? We have the OBJ saved and hit remesh one time. There we go. And yeah, see that? Like it's more higher resolution, but it sucks now. That was bad, right? So it's not even worth using, so to speak. So that's how that works. But let's fire up Maya and see how it works over in Maya. Okay, so I've gone into Maya and I, always set the project first, set the project window in afterwards, and then sometimes before you open the scene or anything. So this way, see, is he facing the right direction? There's front. You see the center line. I start with the sphere in the head, right? So that kind of is something you always have to deal with. So we can hit F on the keyboard for each of these windows. And let's align him. So let's bring him up to the side right there. And just making sure the feet are touching the ground. Well, there's good. Cool. Make sure the center line, make sure he's roughly centered up with the project. So I like to set my grid. I'll usually go in here and we'll go 1000 by 100 by 10 and change the axial lines to something that's real easy to see. Apply, and then the grid numbers every so, and then we'll do the dark blue. There we go, fine close. Okay, so we kind of see, so we want to look balanced, right? So we really want that to be centered. And I think in the end, he had the big back of the head, but it bounced pretty good for where we put the neck. So he doesn't look like he's falling over naturally. So hold down D to move the pivot point and then X to snap the pivot point to the grid and take a look at that in all of the viewports. That looks okay. F, F, F. The viewport, okay, looks like he's pretty much good to go. Let's see about the sizes. So you usually want to freeze the transformations. If you did any scaling or moving, so you see I moved them, so those should all be zeros. So that's his default as well as his pivot. But let's go ahead and make a cylinder first. So I'm going to go to the tool settings here. I'm going to make a cylinder. And looks like it's not doing it automatically. Oh, I just installed Maya 2025. So yeah, so doing doesn't have all my old settings in the way it usually does. But the height on the cylinder, so we'll go 160 centimeters tall for like average human height. So it did pretty good. So he's a little bit on the larger side. If I wanted to be like a little kind of more gremlin-ish type creature, maybe make him like about that size. Okay, so we'll freeze the transformations. So now that should read in channels all zeros and the scales all ones, and the histories here under there, I'll just delete the history just to be sure, and he should be good to go. And he's named Xenomorph Mesh. Let's rename that. Okay, didn't like that. And I'm gonna make a duplicate of him, so Control D, bring it over, and maybe grab the smaller number one. And you can see the facets from the triangulation, right? Like he looks okay, but you have a new remesh tool. It's fairly new. This came out in Maya, I think 2024. So we go mesh and retopologize, or not remesh, retopologize. I'm sorry, it used to be called remesh. So here's your triangle count. So the triangle count right now is at 35,000. Tolerance level 10, keep the original. I already made a copy of it. I'm just gonna hit apply. Maybe I should save this first. So file, Save scene as, make sure it's defaulting into my xenomorphish scenes folder. There we go. Save over it. Okay, and let's reduce it a little bit. Let's go down to like 25,000. Hit apply. Okay, get the error there. Usually doesn't matter. I think maybe, okay, as I say, sometimes I'll do a tool without having the object selected. So just kind of see how that works. Let's time this out and see how it goes. Okay, so here's the result. You can see I've lost the detail of the teeth, right? And the spike's kind of relatively non-existent. Now, if you're doing a finished polished mesh, you'd want to do them as separate objects anyway, the teeth in particular and the eyeballs, whatnot. But that's pretty clean at this point. And there's good topology flow. You see it got off there. There's no center line, so it's still not great, but it's a heck of a lot better than this triangled mess, right? Like you got something right out of the can that you could run with on there. So if I take this in and subdivide this one in Sculptress or Sculptgl, then I'd have a lot more flexibility with what I want to do with the creature. So I'll take this over to the center line. Okay, freeze it, delete the history, and going to rig it and animate it in Mixamo. So we'll take this character now, save my scene before I forget, file export selected, right? So this would be my Xenomorph fish retopo one. Let's export that as an OBJ. If your OBJ is not showing up right away, sometimes you need to go into your settings preferences to the plugin manager and you just type in OBJ. And for some reason, they still, after all these decades, have not fixed the OBJ auto loading in your plugin manager. But saw it happen on someone's computer just the other day. The fingers look pretty good in the hands, like what they did there. But yeah, there's some settings in the retopology options that will help keep the stuff intact. But I can easily blow those up and inflate that, so that's actually not too bad. I like it quite a bit. Okay, so I exported that, and I still have Sculptgl open, and I have Sculptress open still. And just to make sure that I actually saved my Xenomorphish Sculptress file, let's make sure that I did a step 3 on there, just to be certain. And if I wanted to, I could import the new one I just did, and I can make it symmetrical. So I'll load this in. It'll ask me if I want to do a new scene or add it to the existing. So we'll do a brand new scene. There we go. And I want to make it symmetrical. So I hit that one time and voila. There we go. It made it symmetrical. There's some triangles at the center line, but now it's actually a symmetrical mesh. It's way easier to work with. I could get rid of those diamonds pretty quickly. Looks like there's about 10 of them. Okay, maybe not quickly. Maybe it's a little bit of wasted time. But yeah, he's pretty much ready to go. He's only 26,000 faces as well. So let's save this one. We'll go Xenomorphish and come Retopo and resymmetrical. Save that into scenes, and then I'm gonna export it. So looks like it remembers the last path file per operation. So okay, Xenomorphish Retopo and then resym.obj. Save that. Okay, let's bring it in to rig it up in Mixamo and see how it looks over there. Okay, so I'm over here in Mixamo. I'm going to upload my character. So you can drag and drop it or upload it. So I got my Retopo resymmetrized, whatever you want to call it. And so loading up the model into Mixamo usually just takes a few seconds. And once you have it loaded, it should be oriented. It should be facing front. They prefer T pose. I have his arms down in an A pose. The A pose works pretty good. The chin and the wrists. He's got the funky, really funky fingers. See how that works. The elbow, the knees, and the groin. And leave everything as standard. And this also takes maybe 20 seconds, give or take. We could have UV mapped and painted them real quick. I should probably add that step in between this just to make it complete. But this is just for sculpting, so I don't want to get into the textures and materials just quite yet. We could load them into Substance and Unreal Engine, all that good stuff. But I think for the basic techniques, this is going pretty well. We'll see if this is just going to take a few more seconds or not. And voila, there he is. So not perfect. It has some problems with the neck stretching at the clavicle, so I should have carved in that separation for the neck and the trapezius a little bit better. That might also be where the chin placement was on the character. And the wacky fingers, say they work. I was worried they wouldn't work at all. So that's great. So yeah, got our little critter guy. I think that took us less than an hour, and you have all of the great tutorial or motion capture animations to play on your character once you get them loaded in here. As long as it's a biped, right? As long as you follow the standard set forth by Mixamo on what type of character you can do. So if you're taking one of my classes, you start off with the biped because of this reason, because all the auto rigging functions are almost completely bipedal. You do have the new modular control rig in Unreal, which has tails and feet. You have the animation toolkit and 3ds Max, which they kind of quit supporting. I always thought it was really great. I don't know why they didn't just make a version of that for Maya, but we'll see how this goes. He says, no, 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 not this time. No, no, no. This. And you can play with the arm space. So see his hands are kind of passing between his head. So the arm space is here. You can bring that out. That'll keep the arms out wider. There's usually really simple. I mean, it's the simplest interface. Middle mouse drag to move around. Lean. We can lean them forward. Looks like. There you go. Yeah, or lean back. The head turn. Not sure about the head turn. Let's see what that does. Okay, exaggerated head turn or minimal head turn. All right, cool. So, and then overdrive is usually if you want to be more spastic or you want to be more mellow. Yeah, yeah, no, this is the time we fight now. Or then you go, no, 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 this is the time we fight. Yeah, come on, fight me now. All right. That's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the videos. I will do some UV mapping and texture painting in the next set, and we'll look at some more of the sculpting tools to add to your toolkit. Thanks a lot, everybody.